Welcome to the Explainer. You know that cup of coffee you're maybe holding right now? Well, we're going to dive deep into it because behind that amazing smell, there's a huge global system, and it's showing some really serious signs of stress. So let's kick things off with a mystery that honestly affects millions of us. Why are coffee prices so unpredictable? I mean, one minute they're up, the next they're way down. It feels totally random, right? But what if I told you it's actually a symptom of a much, much bigger problem? You know, it's really easy to point fingers, the usual suspects, right? Speculators, big banks, they must be manipulating the market. But the research we're looking at today says that's just a distraction. The real problem is way deeper. It's actually baked into the very structure of the coffee world, and it could threaten the future of coffee as we know it. Okay, so to find the real culprit here, we need to change how we think. We got to stop looking at coffee as just a simple market, buyers and sellers. We have to see it for what it truly is, a massive, complex, global system. So what's a system? Well, think of it like your own body. It's made up of countless different parts, all working together. It's pretty resilient, right? It can heal itself, it self-corrects, it has its own rhythms. The global coffee industry is supposed to work just like that. And this is where it gets really interesting. A healthy system, it has its ups and downs, but they're moderate, kind of like a steady heartbeat. But a fragile system, whoa, that's a system under stress. It has these wild, extreme swings that can actually damage it beyond repair. And that is the danger zone the coffee industry seems to be heading into. And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. Remember the 2008 financial crash? Well, after that happened, the former head of the Fed, Alan Greenspan, actually came out and admitted his whole model for how the world works was flawed. He totally missed the warning signs because he wasn't looking at the system as a whole. So that makes you wonder, right? Could the coffee industry be making the exact same mistake? Could it be suffering from the same fundamental flaw in just how it sees the world? The source material we're drawing from uses this fantastic analogy from an old Sufi tale to explain the problem. It's that classic story of the blind man and the elephant where each one tries to describe the whole animal by only touching one small part. And that just perfectly illustrates the core issue here. You've got the price expert, and all they see is the trunk. It's all about price. Then you have the farming expert feeling the leg. No, it's about farming. And the sustainability expert touching the ear. It's all about sustainability. The point is, everyone's an expert on their one little piece of the puzzle, but practically no one is stepping back to see the whole elephant, the entire global system that connects everything. Okay, so let's dig into how this blindness creates real dangerous cracks in the system, because the evidence, as it turns out, is hiding in plain sight. First up, let's talk about carbon. I mean, we hear a ton about making coffee more climate-friendly, right? But what if our focus is dangerously misplaced? So look, we get all excited about programs that might store, say, an extra 100,000 tons of carbon. And that sounds awesome. But here's the catch. The system's feedback loop is so bad that we have no real data on how much forest is being cut down for new coffee farms. The suspicion is that it's dozens of times more than what we're saving. It's like we're busy patching a tiny leak while a giant hole is sinking the whole ship. All right, the second crack in this system is an economic one, and this one goes right to the heart of production. We're talking about the land itself. Here's the key takeaway. The industry's most basic capital, the actual land that's good for growing coffee, is depreciating. It's wearing out faster than ever before, mainly because of climate change. And here's the kicker. The industry isn't putting enough money back in to stop this decline. So the very foundation of the whole system is just getting weaker and weaker year after year. And finally, let's look at a really tragic, really clear example of what happens when no one is watching over the health of the entire system. See this number? $1 billion. That's the estimated loss that African farmers have suffered from just one single plant disease, coffee wilt disease, since the 1970s. And the most heartbreaking part? This disease started in one tiny area. It could have been contained so easily. But because there wasn't a single agency, not one group, whose job it was to monitor the health of the global system, nothing happened. The information just didn't get where it needed to go fast enough. This was a completely preventable systemic failure that cost $1 billion and ruined so many lives. So you take all these failures, the carbon problem, the land wearing out, this preventable plague, and you realize they're all pointing back to one central, really flawed idea that has dominated our thinking for a long, long time. For decades, the philosophy has been pretty simple. If everyone just acts in their own self-interest, then this invisible hand of the free market will magically sort everything out for the good of all. But, just look at the evidence. It's pretty clear that's not what's happening. It's like what the Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz said, pretty bluntly. The reason the invisible hand was invisible is that it wasn't there. Maybe the reason we can't see this magical force fixing everything is because it just doesn't exist. We can't just cross our fingers and hope for the best. Okay, so we've looked at all these cracks in the system. What does this all mean? What does it mean for us and for that cup of coffee we drink every single morning? All right, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The massive $100 billion industry that brings us our daily coffee, it's running with the same kind of blind spots that led the financial system to crash back in 2008. We are literally ignoring the warning signs of a major systemic failure. So look, this is about more than just why your latte costs a little more this week. This is about the long-term survival of an entire global industry that millions and millions of people depend on for their livelihood. Which leaves us with a final, really important question to think about. The system is fragile. What's it going to take to build one that can actually last?